Welcome to Scholastic IQ, the game where knowledge rules. I'm your host, Ethan Neer, and we are back for a brand new season with some brand new teams and hopefully a brand new champion. We'll have to find out. But before we get into our game, let's introduce some of those teams. On the bottom, we have Woodlawn with Amelia, Caden, Dalen, and Dane. And up top, we have Calloway County with Ezra, Connor, Aubrey, and Nathaniel. Now, before we get into the questions, we'll just do a quick recap of our rules. We'll start out with some toss-up questions. Those are worth 10 points. If they get it right, they move on to a bonus question, which is worth 20 and can be stolen for 10. You guys are allowed to interrupt me at any time, but if you interrupt me and get the question wrong, 5 points do go to the other team. So just be right and you'll be fine. All right, let's get into the questions. What 2017 novel, whose title refers to a Tupac Shakur quote that Khalil discusses with Star, was written by Angie Thomas about a police shooting? Aubrey.
The Hate You Give.
The Hate You Give is correct. Well done. For your bonus, the Culture Kampf occurred during the term of what Prussian and German chancellor who was an advocate for Realpolitik?
Bismarck.
Bismarck is correct. Well done. Next question. What structures separate with the aid of centromeres, have protective regions called telomeres, and are normally found in Connor?
Chromosome.
Chromosomes is correct. Well done. For your bonus, amalgams are defined, by definition, are alloys containing what heavy metal element?
Mercury.
Mercury is correct. Well done. Off to a hot start. All right. The next question. What Asian country whose Carmel coast stretches as far north as its port city of Haifa contains most of its diplomatic offices in Tel Aviv? Amelia.
Jerusalem.
Jerusalem is incorrect. Ezra.
Lebanon.
Lebanon is incorrect. The answer we're looking for was Israel. Israel. Next question. What African country where the fossil known as Lucy was found was ruled in the 19th century by Menelik II and in the 20th century by Haile Selassie? Nathaniel.
Ethiopia.
Ethiopia is correct. Well done. For your bonus, what North founder of the short-lived 11th century settlement of Vinland is widely held to be the first European to reach North America?
Leif Erikson.
Hinga-dinga-durgan, indeed. That is correct. For your next question, what element whose black form is part of hydrogen electrodes is below palladium on the periodic table and is a coinage metal with an atomic symbol PT? Connor.
Platinum.
Platinum is correct. Well done. For your bonus, after Rigel, the brightest star in Orion, is what exceptionally large red supergiant, which suddenly dimmed in 2019 and 2020?
Sirius.
Sirius is incorrect. Woodlawn, chance to steal.
Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice is correct. Getting your team on the board. Well done. The next question. What author wrote about silver hidden by Charles Gould in the novel Nostromo and described the death of ivory trader Kurtz in Heart of Darkness? Aubrey.
Joseph Conrad.
Joseph Conrad is correct. Well done. For your bonus, what Austrian city was the birthplace of Mozart and was historically a major center of salt extraction?
Vienna.
Vienna is incorrect. Woodlawn, a chance to steal.
No answer.
It is the so aptly named Salzburg. Very creative, I know. For your next question, what architectural elements, which can be substituted with statues called caryatids, consist of a capital, base? Nathaniel.
Column.
Column is correct. Well done. For your bonus, what Spanish peasant becomes a squire and is tricked into thinking that he is the governor of an island in Miguel de Cervantes' novel Don Quixote?
Sancho Panza.
Sancho Panza is correct. Well done. Next question. What man who installed Ramon Serrano as Falange spokesman was succeeded by Juan Carlos I as head of state after controlling Spain from 1930? Nathaniel.
Franco.
Francisco Franco is correct. Well done. For your bonus, in 2023, Claudine Gay became the first black person to serve as president of which Ivy League school?
Harvard.
Harvard is correct. Well done. Next question. What river that arises in Germany's Black Forest and passes through Budapest has blue waters that inspired a waltz by Johann Nathaniel?
Danube.
The Danube is correct. Well done. For your bonus, what mythic man cursed with donkey's ears turned things he touches into gold?
King Midas.
King Midas is correct. Well done. The next question, what company led by Bob Jordan, which is based in Dallas, had a major software failure in the 2022 Christmas season that led to travel delays? Nathaniel.
Delta Airlines.
Delta Airlines is incorrect. Caden.
Spirit.
Spirit is incorrect. The answer we're looking for was Southwest. Southwest Airlines. The next one, what gaseous molecule is used to make nitric acid in the Ostwald process, is synthesized in the Haber process, and has, Connor.
Nitrogen.
Nitrogen is incorrect. I won't reread the full question. What gaseous molecule is used to make nitric acid in the Ostwald process, is synthesized in the Haber process, and has the molecular formula NH3? Kate.
Hydrogen.
Sorry, the answer we're looking for was ammonia. Ammonia. For your next question, what author wrote about a brave military water carrier in the poem Gunga Din and described how animals raised the human's boy in Mowgli in the Jungle Book? Aubrey.
Kipling.
Rudyard Kipling is correct. Well done. For your bonus question, the Flavian dynasty was founded by what Roman Empire, the last to rule during the year of 4 emperors?
Nero.
Nero's incorrect. Woodlawn, you have a chance to seal.
Josephus.
That's incorrect. The answer we were looking for was Vespasian. Vespasian. For your next question, what thinker who advanced the wax argument in Meditations on First Philosophy wrote the Discourse on the Method and claimed, I think? Nathaniel.
Descartes.
Rene Descartes is correct. Well done. For your bonus, what politician ran aside Braga Neto in a 2022 general election, which he lost to Lula da Silva, his successor as president of Brazil?
Bolsonaro.
Air Bolsonaro is correct. Well done, Ezra. For your next question, what president who launched Operation Urgent Fury to topple Grenada's government told Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev to tear Dalen?
Reagan.
Ronald Reagan is correct. Well done. For your bonus, what French phrase translates as outside the work refers to a small dish served before a meal and is equivalent to the English word appetizer?
Hors d'oeuvres.
Hors d'oeuvres is correct. Well done, Dale. Clearly not. Didn't take French in high school?
No.
Maybe Spanish? No worries. Honestly, the more useful of the two languages. I took the one because I wanted to be Canadian. For your next toss-up, emery boards are coated mainly with what mineral, a form of aluminum oxide that is primarily mineral in rubies and defines 9 on the Mohs scale? Connor.
Conundrum.
Like you said again?
Conundrum.
Conundrum is correct. Well done. For your bonus, what Cavalier poet who was incarcerated in 1642 claimed stone walls do not make nor iron bars a cage, or stone walls do not a prison make nor iron bars a cage in his poem to Althea from prison?
Cromwell.
Can you repeat that for me?
Cromwell.
That is incorrect.
Peter.
Peter is incorrect. The answer we're looking for was Richard Lovelace. Richard Lovelace. For your next question, what woman who co-founded the Archwell Foundation told Oprah Winfrey in a 2021 TV special about being bullied before marrying Prince Harry? Dalen.
Meghan Markle.
Meghan Markle is correct. Well done. For your bonus, the Linux kernel was primarily written in what programming language, which was developed at Bell Labs in the 1970s and is known for its efficiency?
Binary.
Binary is incorrect. Calloway County, chance to steal.
Python.
Python is incorrect. The answer you're looking for was C. C. The next question. At what university were John Philo took a photo of Mary Ann Vecchio were 4 students protesting the Vietnam War killed by the Ohio National Guard? Dalen.
Ohio State.
Ohio State is incorrect. I appreciate the guess. Ezra.
University of Cleveland.
University of Cleveland is incorrect. The answer we're looking for was Kent State. Kent State. So next toss-up. What property, whose name comes from the Latin for lack of skill, is the subject of Newton's first law and is an object's resistance? Connor.
Inertia.
Inertia is correct. Well done. For your bonus, Mislava Rostropovich played what instrument whose lowest note is normally 2 octaves below middle C?
Tuba.
Tuba is incorrect.
Sousaphone.
Sousaphone is incorrect, although I appreciate the obscure instrument. The answer we're looking for was cello. Next question. Which man who painted The Old Guitarist during his... Connor.
Picasso.
Pablo Picasso is correct. Hold on. For your bonus, what term describes 2 angles that add up to 180 degrees, meaning that when placed next to each other, they form a straight line?
Supplementary.
Supplementary is correct. Well done, Aubrey. The next question. On what TV show are hamburgers described as steamed hams and served to Superintendent Chalmers? Nathaniel.
The Simpsons.
The Simpsons is correct. For your bonus, what Union Army, named for a major river, defeated Robert E. Lee's Army of Northern Virginia in the Eastern Theater of the Civil War?
Potomac.
Army of the Potomac is correct. Well done. Next question. Which country the setting of Burger's Daughter and July's People was home to Nadine Gordimer, who set many of her novels during its apartheid era? Nathaniel.
South Africa.
South Africa is correct. Well done. For your bonus, what U.S. central bank has a dual mandate of fostering price stability and full sustainable employment?
Federal Reserve.
Federal Reserve System is correct. Well done. And that will take us to our lightning round. The way our lightning round works is each team will have 60 seconds to answer as many questions as they can about a particular topic. Now, Woodlawn, since you guys are trailing, you do get first pick. Your choices are bread, characters from British literature, ERA, or also a musical.
Bread.
Bread it is. Answer the following about the science of bread. 60 seconds on the clock, and I will count you down. 3, 2, 1. Single-celled fungi use to leaven bread.
Yeast.
That's correct. Gas produced by fermentation that makes some breads rise.
Pass.
Elastic protein that gives many breads texture, also an allergen.
Wheat.
That's incorrect. Process used in bagel making that turns a liquid into vapor.
Boiling.
That's correct. Energy-rich nutrient in bread made of amylose and amyleptin.
Gluten.
Is incorrect. Acid that gives sourdough bread its sourness.
Pass.
In math, an embedding of a circle in 3D space, also the shape of a pretzel.
Pass.
Leavening agent that makes pancakes rise.
Yeast.
That's incorrect. Process that toughens dough by forming strands of protein.
Eggs.
That's incorrect. Reaction that causes bread crusts to brown.
Cooking.
That's incorrect. You guys are all out of time, so we'll go back through them. Gas produced by fermentation that makes some breads rise is carbon dioxide. Elastic protein that gives many breads textures, also an allergen, was gluten. Process used in bagel making that turns a liquid into vapor is boiling. Energy-rich nutrient in bread made of amylose and amylpectin is starches. Acid that gives sourdough bread its sourness is lactid. In math, an embedding of a circle in a 3D space, also the shape of a pretzel, is not. Leavening agent that makes pancakes rise is baking soda. Process that toughens dough by forming strands of protein is kneading. And reaction that causes bread crust to brown is the Maillard. The Maillard. All right, now we'll take it to Calloway. Once again, your choices are characters from British literature, ERA, or also a musical.
ERA.
ERA it is. Given these terms ending with the consecutive letters ERA. 60 seconds on the clock. I will count you down. 3, 2, 1. A photographer's device.
Camera.
A musical work such as Aida.
Opera.
Birthday celebration for a 15-year-old girls in Latin America. Two-word Latin phrase meaning and the rest.
Etc.
Greek mythology beast slain by Butherlon.
Chimera.
That's correct. Media company based in Qatar.
Pass.
Intestinal infection spread by contaminated water.
Cholera.
Region of France alongside the Mediterranean coast.
Pass.
A large sinkhole formed by a volcanic eruption.
Caldera.
The outer layer of the eye.
Cornea.
That's incorrect. Media company based in Qatar.
Pass.
Region of France along the Mediterranean coast.
Pass.
The outer layer of the eye. Oh, you guys got that wrong. I believe it was back to media company based in Qatar. You guys are out of time. So the media company based in Qatar is Al Jazeera. And the region of France along the Mediterranean coast was Riviera. And the outer layer of the eye was sclera. Sclera. All right, so well done to you guys. Let's take a quick look at our scores after the bonus round, or the lightning round. We have Calloway County with 420 and Woodlawn with 75. Now, let's take it back to the toss-ups. What queen who was arrested with her family in the flight to Varennes was married to King Louis XVI and Nathaniel?
Marie Antoinette.
Marie Antoinette is correct. Well done. For your bonus, what American author described nature as being full of solemn decorations of the great tomb of man in his poem Thanatopsis?
Thoreau.
Thoreau is incorrect.
Frost.
Frost is incorrect. The answer you're looking for was Bryant. Bryant. For your next toss-up, what 1913 work ends with a sacrificial dance was a ballet? Nathaniel.
Rite of Spring.
The Rite of Spring is correct. Well done. For your bonus, what Minnesota native and vice president under Lyndon B. Johnson lost the 1968 presidential election to Richard Nixon?
Humphrey.
Hubert Humphrey is correct. Well done. For your next question, what poem, which repeats the phrase, "I'm with you in Rockland," describes the best minds of my generation destroyed? Aubrey.
Howl.
Howl is correct. Well done. For your bonus, since the baby boom, the U.S. birth rate has hovered near what level the minimum number of births needed per woman to prevent population decline?
Minimum.
Minimum is incorrect. Woodlawn.
1.
1 is incorrect. The answer we're looking for was the replacement rate, which is roughly 2.1, apparently. For next toss-up, in what state were Betsy Johnson and Christine Drazan defeated by Democrat Tina Kotek in a three-way governor's race to succeed Kate Brown in Salem? Dalen.
Oregon.
Oregon is correct. Well done. For your bonus, doomed teenagers Mateo and Rufus meet on the app Last Friend and decide to spend their final day of life together in what 2017 novel by Adam Severa?
The Last Friend.
The Last Friend is incorrect.
They both die at the end.
They both die at the end is a very apt name and also correct. For your next question, what particles which were detected in the Homestake experiment very rarely interact with matter due to being almost massless and having no charge? Dan.
Neutrons.
Neutrons is incorrect. Connor.
Antimatter.
Antimatter is incorrect. The answer we're looking for was not neutrons, but neutrinos. Yeah, you guys got it. For the next question, what president whose campaign promised a return to normalcy? Nathaniel.
Harding.
Warren G. Harding is correct. Well done. For your bonus, what 9th century king of Wessex was the first ruler of England to be known as the Great?
Alfred.
Alfred the Great is correct. Well done, Calloway. Next question, what U.S. city named for Saint Didacus of Alcala is after Los Angeles, California's most populous city, and is across the border from Tijuana? Dalen.
San Antonio.
San Antonio is incorrect. Ezra.
San Francisco.
Since San Francisco is incorrect, we were looking for a different San Diego. San Diego. The next question, what function whose value can be estimated using Stirling's approximation equals 120 for n equals 5 and is indicated by an exclamation mark? Dalen.
Extreme.
Extreme is incorrect. Connor.
Factorial.
Factorial is correct. Well done. For your bonus, in July 2023, what state's governor, Tony Evers, used a line item veto to extend an education funding increase through the year 24-25 instead of 2025?
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma is incorrect. Woodlawn, chance to steal.
Illinois.
Illinois is incorrect. The answer we're looking for was our brothers to the north, Wisconsin. Wisconsin. The next question, what man who sacked Persepolis and ended the Archaemenid dynasty died in 323 BC after founding a namesake city in Egypt as a Macedonian? Ezra.
Alexander the Great.
Alexander the Great is correct. Well done. For your bonus, quote, two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert in what Percy Shelley sonnet inspired by an Egyptian statue?
The Sphinx.
Sphinx is incorrect.
The Mummy.
The Mummy, great movie, but not the right answer. The answer we're looking for was Ozymandias. Ozymandias. Next question. In what European country's June 2023 elections did the New Democratic Party defeat Syriza, enabling Kyriakos Mitsotakis to form a government in Athens? Nathaniel.
Greece.
Greece is correct. For your bonus, in 2024, what state will replace its state flag, which depicts the state motto, industry, with a flag that features a beehive?
Michigan.
Michigan is incorrect. Woodlawn, chance to steal.
Nevada.
That is incorrect. The answer we're looking for was Utah. And honestly sounds like a much needed redesign. Just industry, a beehive is way cooler. For your next question, pencil and paper ready. What positive integer is the square root of 1089, given that 30 squared equals 900 and 35 squared equals 1225? Connor.
33.
33 is correct. Well done. For your bonus, keep those pencil and paper out. Given the answer must be between 0 and 360 degrees, on what bearing is a pilot flying if they are going due southeast?
$275.
275? That is incorrect. Woodlawn, the chance to steal.
225 degrees.
225 degrees is incorrect. The answer you're looking for was 135. 135. And that is all the questions we have time for on today's show. So let's take a look at the scores. We have Calloway County coming on top of 550 over Woodlawn's 85. Calloway trying to get that title back, a impressive return to form. That's all the time we have for on today's show. For all the fantastic people working behind the camera and our lovely contestants here today, I'm Ethan Neer. Thank you so much, and good night.